71. The Greeting.
Zarathustra is still wandering in the mountains. He met many peculiar people, each with his own grievances and sorrows, but he still hasn't found what he was looking for, the higher man who emitted the cry of distress. Will this chapter bring him more luck?
It was late in the afternoon only when Zarathustra, after long useless searching and strolling about, again came home to his cave. When, however, he stood over against it, not more than 20 paces therefrom, the thing happened which he now least of all expected. He heard anew the great cry of distress, and extraordinary. This time the cry came out of his own cave. It was a long, manifold, peculiar cry, and Zarathustra plainly distinguished that it was composed of many voices. Although heard at a distance, it might sound like the cry out of a single mouth.
The mystery is solved. The cry of distress was not made by one man. It was composed of the voices of all the people he met, as their different grievances coalesced in a crescendo of distress. Since he invited them all to his cave, now the cry of distress comes from it. What he was searching for all day was actually dwelling in his own abode.
Thereupon Zarathustra rushed forward to his cave, and behold, what a spectacle awaited him after that concert. For there did they all sit together whom he had passed during the day, the king on the right and the king on the left, the old magician, the pope, the voluntary beggar, the shadow, the intellectually conscientious one, the sorrowful soothsayer, and the ass. The ugliest man, however, had set a crown on his head, and had put round him 2 purple girdles, for he liked, like all ugly ones, to disguise himself and play the handsome person.
They are all there, the people he met during the day. It looks like they have bonded, but the ugliest man disguises himself. He doesn't want them to figure out that he is the one responsible for their unfortunate condition, by killing God.
In the midst, however, of that sorrowful company stood Zarathustra's eagle, ruffled and disquieted, for it had been called upon to answer too much, for which its pride had not any answer. The wise serpent, however, hung round its neck.
With the absence of Zarathustra himself, the visitors sought wisdom from his animals. We have already established, however, that although the animals represent his wisdom and pride, they don't know his deepest thoughts. A man, apparently, is more than just wisdom and pride. So they couldn't answer all the questions.
All this did Zarathustra behold with great astonishment. Then, however, he scrutinized each individual guest with courteous curiosity, read their souls and wondered anew. In the meantime, the assembled ones had risen from their seats, and waited with reverence for Zarathustra to speak. Zarathustra, however, spake thus: Ye despairing ones, ye strange ones, so it was your cry of distress that I heard, and now do I know also where he is to be sought, whom I have sought for in vain today, the higher man. In mine own cave sitteth he, the higher man, but why do I wonder? Have not I myself allured him to me by honey offerings and artful lure calls of my happiness?
Finally, Zarathustra realizes that all these men he met are higher men, the thing he was looking for. They are all men who realize there is something wrong with contemporary society, with its values that have been created by the rabble. So they fashioned a different lifestyle for themselves, one that seeks something more noble, but even that failed to bring them joy. This is why they came to seek him, and he now remembers that he was the one who wished for them to come, in the opening chapter of this part.
But it seemeth to me that ye are badly adapted for company. Ye make one another's hearts fretful, ye that cry for help, when ye sit here together. There is one that must first come. One who will make you laugh once more, a good jovial buffoon, a dancer, a wind, a wild romp, some old fool. What think ye?
On their own, these people are sufferable, each having some virtues. Put together, however, they have a bad effect on each other, pulling each other down with their grievances. They need someone to come in and change the group dynamics towards the positive. Zarathustra is obviously referring to himself, but can he actually change their attitude?
Forgive me, however, ye despairing ones, for speaking such trivial words before you, unworthy verily of such guests. But ye do not divine what maketh my heart wanton. Ye yourselves do it, and your aspect, forgive it me, for every one becometh courageous who beholdeth a despairing one. To encourage a despairing one, every one thinketh himself strong enough to do so.
Zarathustra apologizes, twice, for being so cheeky with them, but adds that it is their countenance that puts him in this mood. Seeing their despair fills his heart with courage to fight this despair and defeat it.
To myself have ye given this power, a good gift, mine honourable guests, an excellent guests present. Well, do not then upbraid when I also offer you something of mine. This is mine empire and my dominion. That which is mine, however, shall this evening and tonight be yours. Mine animals shall serve you. Let my cave be your resting place. At house and home with me shall no one despair. In my purlieus do I protect everyone from his wild beasts, and that is the first thing which I offer you, security.
He thanks them for making him feel this way, and shows his gratitude by offering them a present as well. First, he grants them that they will be safe in his cave.
The second thing, however, is my little finger, and when ye have that, then take the whole hand also, yea, and the heart with it. Welcome here. Welcome to you, my guests. Thus spake Zarathustra, and laughed with love and mischief. After this greeting his guests bowed once more and were reverentially silent. The king on the right, however, answered him in their name.
He then offers them a finger, hinting that they will probably go on from there to take all of him. This is another jab at their character. He seems to be incapable of not making fun of them. They, however, regard him with such reverence that they take everything with love. One of the kings then speaks for them.
O Zarathustra, by the way in which thou hast given us thy hand and thy greeting, we recognize thee as Zarathustra. Thou hast humbled thyself before us. Almost hast thou hurt our reverence. Who, however, could have humbled himself as thou hast done with such pride? That uplifteth us ourselves. A refreshment is it to our eyes and hearts. To behold this merely, gladly would we ascend higher mountains than this, for as eager beholders have we come. We wanted to see what brighteneth dim eyes. And lo, now is it all over with our cries of distress. Now are our minds and hearts open and enraptured. Little is lacking for our spirit to become wanton.
The king seems to realize that Zarathustra is being facetious, but to miss the ridicule. He thinks Zarathustra humbled himself before them as an act of generosity. He points out that this is not what they expect from him, as they came to him to seek someone who does not humble himself, but they realize it comes from a place of being so strong that he doesn't mind humbling himself. His mere presence, he adds, fills their heart with good spirit, and they are almost ready to become what Zarathustra wants.
There is nothing, O Zarathustra, that groweth more pleasingly on earth than a lofty, strong will. It is the finest growth. An entire landscape refresheth itself at one such tree. To the pine do I compare him, O Zarathustra, which groweth up like thee, tall, silent, hardy, solitary, of the best, supplest wood, stately. In the end, however, grasping out for its dominion with strong green branches, asking weighty questions of the wind, the storm, and whatever is at home on high places. Answering more weightily a commander, a victor. Oh, who should not ascend high mountains to behold such growths?
The two kings, we recall, escaped society because they couldn't stand its values anymore, the values of the rabble. Nietzsche means mainly the value of equality, which he sees as the mediocre trying to cut everyone down to their level. In contrast, the king wants human society to allow the strong trees to grow as much as they can, and overcome everything in nature that tries to stifle them. Such trees then become role models for everyone else to aspire upwards, and struggle to grow as much as they can as well.
At thy tree, O Zarathustra, the gloomy and ill-constituted also refresh themselves. At thy look, even the wavering become steady and heal their hearts. And verily, towards thy mountain and thy tree do many eyes turn today. A great longing hath arisen, and many have learned to ask, Who is Zarathustra?
Zarathustra is the tallest tree among contemporary humans, and they are beginning to realize it. Many people are waking up, says the king, and seek Zarathustra to learn how to become like him.
And those into whose ears thou hast at any time dripped thy song and thy honey, all the hidden ones, the lone dwellers and the twain dwellers, have simultaneously said to their hearts, Doth Zarathustra still live? It is no longer worth while to live. Everything is indifferent. Everything is useless. Or else we must live with Zarathustra. Why doth he not come, who hath so long announced himself? Thus do many people ask, Hath solitude swallowed him up, or should we perhaps go to him?
The people know that Zarathustra has promised to return, and ask why he didn't keep his promise. They fail to realize that he said he will return only when they are worthy of it. To become worthy, they must follow his example and surpass themselves. Some do realize it, and want to follow him, but he has been gone for so long, they don't know if he is still alive. This is why so many have come looking for him.
Now doth it come to pass that solitude itself becometh fragile and breaketh open, like a grave that breaketh open and can no longer hold its dead. Everywhere one seeth resurrected ones. Now do the waves rise and rise around thy mountain, O Zarathustra, and however high be thy height, many of them must rise up to thee. Thy boat shall not rest much longer on dry ground.
The people he met today are just the beginning, says the king. Many more will come to seek him. He repeats the metaphor that the soothsayer used, about the waves rising even to where he is. Except the soothsayer was pessimistic, as usual, and said that the waves of great distress will carry even Zarathustra's boat away. Whereas the king is more positive, portraying the waves as people who will come to Zarathustra to escape the distress.
And that we, despairing ones, have now come into thy cave, and already no longer despair, it is but a prognostic and a presage that better ones are on the way to thee. For they themselves are on the way to thee, the last remnant of God among men, that is to say, all the men of great longing, of great loathing, of great satiety. All who do not want to live unless they learn again to hope, unless they learn from thee, O Zarathustra, the great hope.
Not only do these guests herald more people who will come, but those who will follow will be better. The translation here is a bit confusing. It makes it seem like he is referring to Zarathustra as the last remnant of God among men, but the king is actually referring to those who will come to him. He uses Zarathustra's words to describe them. They will be the ones who will wake up and feel a great loathing for man, and the longing for something that will surpass man. They will need Zarathustra to give them hope that such a thing exists.
Thus spake the king on the right, and seized the hand of Zarathustra in order to kiss it. But Zarathustra checked his veneration and stepped back frightened, fleeing, as it were, silently and suddenly into the far distance. After a little while, however, he was again at home with his guests, looked at them with clear, scrutinizing eyes, and said, My guests, ye higher men, I will speak plain language and plainly with you. It is not for you that I have waited here in these mountains.
Zarathustra recoils from the reverence these guests show him. This is not what he wants from his followers. He decides to drop the act and honestly tell them how he feels. He warns them beforehand that he is going to speak plainly, so there are no misunderstandings.
Plain language and plainly? Good God, said here the king on the left to himself, one seeth he doth not know the good Occidentals, this sage out of the Orient. But he meaneth blunt language and bluntly. Well, that is not the worst taste in these days.
We are reminded that Zarathustra is Persian, but this is the first time the book lets us know that the story takes place in the Occident. We could tell we were in the Western world, as it was clearly describing Western society, but it was never spelled out. This means that Zarathustra is a stranger in this land. The king remarks that it is foolish to try to speak plainly to Europeans, but he knows that when Zarathustra said plainly, he actually meant bluntly. And he actually wants to be spoken to in a blunt way.
Ye may verily all of you be higher men, continued Zarathustra, but for me ye are neither high enough nor strong enough. For me, that is to say, for the inexorable which is now silent in me, but will not always be silent. And if ye appertain to me, still it is not as my right arm. For he who himself standeth, like you, on sickly and tender legs, wisheth above all to be treated indulgently, whether he be conscious of it or hide it from himself.
These higher men realized that there was something wrong with society, and decided to break away from it. This Zarathustra commends. But they are already so twisted by contemporary values that they cannot surpass their wretched condition. Therefore, they cannot be good followers to Zarathustra. Secretly, they want to be indulged, but he is not going to indulge them, but continue to speak bluntly.
My arms and my legs, however, I do not treat indulgently. I do not treat my warriors indulgently. How then could ye be fit for my warfare? With you I should spoil all my victories, and many of you would tumble over if ye but heard the loud beating of my drums.
He doesn't believe they are capable of taking his blunt words. Therefore, they cannot be warriors in the battle he is waging on contemporary Western spirit.
Moreover, ye are not sufficiently beautiful and well-born for me. I require pure, smooth mirrors for my doctrines. On your surface even mine own likeness is distorted. On your shoulders presseth many a burden, many a recollection, many a mischievous dwarf squatteth in your corners. There is concealed populace also in you. And though ye be high and of a higher type, much in you is crooked and misshapen. There is no smith in the world that could hammer you right and straight for me.
Again, he acknowledges that they are higher than most other men, higher than the rabble, but says that there is too much of the rabble in them. The dwarf, one of the ways he refers to the spirit of gravity, is sitting on their shoulders and pressing them down, so they cannot fly with Zarathustra.
Ye are only bridges, may higher ones pass over upon you. Ye signify steps, so do not upbraid him who ascendeth beyond you into his height. Out of your seed there may one day arise for me a genuine son and perfect heir, but that time is distant. Ye yourselves are not those unto whom my heritage and name belong.
The reign of insults continues, but he also grants them some importance. They are the bridges over which better ones will come. This actually corresponds with what the king said earlier.
Not for you do I wait here in these mountains. Not with you may I descend for the last time. Ye have come unto me only as a presage that higher ones are on the way to me. Not the men of great longing, of great loathing, of great satiety, and that which ye call the remnant of God.
But those who will come will not be those who the king said they will be. The king was using Zarathustra's own past words to describe future men, but Zarathustra is already thinking about the next stage.
Nay, nay, 3 times nay, for others do I wait here in these mountains, and will not lift my foot from thence without them. For higher ones, stronger ones, triumphanter ones, merrier ones, for such as are built squarely in body and soul, laughing lions must come. O my guests, ye strange ones, have ye yet heard nothing of my children, and that they are on the way to me?
Those who will come, Zarathustra's children, as he calls them, will be lions. They will not just feel self-loathing to the human condition, but will do something about it. They shall be the lions he described in the 3 Metamorphoses, those who do battle against the old values and overthrow them. And once they do that, we remember from that discourse, they will indeed become children, and worthy heirs to Zarathustra.
Do speak unto me of my gardens, of my happy isles, of my new beautiful race. Why do ye not speak unto me thereof? This guest's present do I solicit of your love, that ye speak unto me of my children. For them am I rich, for them I became poor. What have I not surrendered? What would I not surrender that I might have one thing? These children, this living plantation, these life trees of my will and of my highest hope.
Zarathustra reveals what's in his heart, the thing he lives for. He knows he will not live to see the Superman, but he wants to live to see his children, those who will follow in his footsteps and keep the hope alive. Since those children have not been born yet, he asks his guest to indulge him and tell him about them.
Thus spake Zarathustra, and stopped suddenly in his discourse, for his longing came over him, and he closed his eyes and his mouth, because of the agitation of his heart. And all his guests also were silent, and stood still and confounded, except only that the old soothsayer made signs with his hands and his gestures.
Despite what he has been saying about them, it seems that his guests are actually capable of taking his blunt words. They were, after all, already feeling that there is something wrong with them, and came to Zarathustra to be told what it is. It is actually Zarathustra who has been most affected by his words, allowing his longing for his children to take over him. The guests show respect to this emotional moment, except for the soothsayer, who seems to have something to say. To find out what it is, we'll have to go on to the next chapter.